AITA for telling my daughter, yeah, I get it, you hate him, when he went on a father-daughter trip. I have two daughters, Emma and Lucy. Their dad passed away, and then I remarried. Emma hates her stepdad. She got furious when my husband took Lucy to a pumpkin patch, a tradition Emma used to do with her bio dad. She accused me of disrespecting her late father's memory. So I, 42F, have two daughters, Emma, 17F, and Lucy, 10F. The issue revolves around my husband, who is Emma's stepfather. Emma's dad passed away when she was younger, and I remarried 3 years ago. She and my husband don't get along at all, and she makes it clear she dislikes him. My husband has tried to bond with her, but Emma shuts him out completely, refuses to talk, and ignores him. We all know she will never see him as a father figure, and we are fine with it. Here's where it gets tricky. When Emma was younger, her bio dad would take her to father-daughter outings. We have a lot of pictures of those. Lucy was too young to remember any of them. We thought it would be nice to do again, since Lucy does see her stepdad as her dad. Specifically, they would go to a pumpkin patch and then carve them. They went to the pumpkin patch yesterday and had a great time. Lucy and my husband really bonded and had a good time. The issue is, Emma, she is pissed that he took over the tradition with Lucy, that my husband stole the tradition, and I am disrespecting my late husband's memory. I was exhausted from hearing the same arguments over and over. So I snapped and said, yeah, I get it. You hate him, but your sister sees him as her dad and doesn't have these memories like you do. Are you really doing to ruin this for your sister, and no one owns going to a pumpkin patch? She has been pissed and calling me an insensitive jerk. She is also getting on Lucy's ass for going with my husband. My mom thinks I am a jerk here, and I need an outside opinion edit. Before I get a million put her into therapy comments. We tried twice. She would just sit there. For months, even with different therapists, she would not talk. She just sat there. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. He didn't steal anything. Does Emma now believe that for forever now, anyone who goes on a father-daughter excursion can't? How narcissistic and self-centered. That is just plain silly. The only person here who is being disrespectful is Emma towards Lucy, trying to deny her the love and support from your husband. And that should not put up with in no uncertain terms. Tell your to butt out. OP. That's another issue. It is definitely hurting their relationship. Lucy sees him as her dad, and Emma hates it. Commenter. I hated my stepdad too, mainly just because he was not my dad, and I wanted my dad. There was nothing he or my mom could say or do that would change that. Your response is true, and not out of line. She's being a jerk, but I bet she knows it and just doesn't care, because inside she is just hurting so bad. Not an excuse for her behavior though. Can you just let her be, work on her relationship with you and her sister, and don't allow her to sabotage her sister or anyone else? She's not going to agree, but has to understand it's not allowed. I'm 45 and I still can't stand him. Nothing helped, but I love my mom and sister infinitely. Commenter. NTA. Emma is allowed to feel disconnected, frustrated, and hurt. What she's not allowed to try to do is harm her little sister's relationship with the man she considers her dad, let alone try to target her and make her feel guilty pursuing it. That's something I'd put a stop to immediately, because you're allowing a really toxic trait in her to blossom and damage your family. No one is forcing her to have a REL with her stepdad. No one is forcing her to like him. In fact, she's allowed to do things like totally ignore him when he's speaking to her, even though that's a plainly rude way to treat someone, especially in their home. But she's allowed to moan about these feelings privately to you and perhaps a therapist. But that's it. She's not allowed to make them other people's problems. She's not allowed to tarnish a happy memory for Lily. She's not allowed to constantly dump on her stepdad. Get her into therapy and make it clear that there's a line between expressing yourself and lashing out, and that she's crossed it. And in her lashing out, she bullied her sister. Story 2. AITA for picking a restaurant my step-siblings couldn't eat at. My uncle brought me out to eat on Saturday because he wasn't here for my 16th birthday 3 weeks ago. He had to take my step-siblings, 13F, 11M, with us. He's not their step-uncle BTW. He's my mom's brother. Step-siblings are my dad's step-kids, but my uncle and dad used to be best friends, but their friendship ended when my mom died 7 years ago. Things are messy because my uncle still wants to see me, and I want to see him. But dad doesn't want my step-siblings left out, so they get dragged around sometimes. Something kind of relevant is that my step-siblings have, not anaphylactic kind, food allergies. Their allergies are different from each other, and they get rashes and puking and stuff from eating foods they're allergic to. This has become such a focus for my dad and their mom that I don't get to eat at places I like, even when my step-siblings aren't there, because it's not fair. I'm also the only person in the family, so I think it's more a burden than a family, who never gets to have my favorite restaurant on rotation for eating out. My dad, his wife, and both my step-siblings get their hash one choice, but because mine doesn't easily accommodate my step-siblings, I can't have it. All of my top 5 are out, even for stuff like my birthday. I hate it. I resent it. I don't have the family affection or mushiness for them to make it easier. I just basically suck it up. But when my uncle was taking me, I chose my top choice, and he took us. My step-siblings didn't eat. I didn't even feel bad because their needs are always put first, and they shouldn't have been tagging along anyway. Their mom was so mad when my uncle dropped me off, and dad was disappointed in me. He asked me why I chose it, and I told him it's my favorite restaurant, and it's been almost 6 years since I got to eat there, because they decided I can never have it while I live with them. I told him it was meant to be celebrating my birthday, and since I get fucked over when they celebrate me because of my step-siblings, I didn't see why I had to do it when my uncle was taking me. I told him they shouldn't have been there in the first place. I didn't want them there. He was just fucking with my uncle. His wife heard me say her kids shouldn't have been there, and she asked where my compassion is and where my sibling bond went, and I told her I never had one. My step-siblings were really upset they'd been forced to watch two of us eat, and that made their mom more angry at me and dad more upset with me, especially because I didn't feel bad about it. AITA? Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA, he's your uncle, not theirs. It was your birthday celebration, not theirs. Steal those little moments for you whenever possible. OP. Was the first time I was just so done with it to try, and willing to risk the consequences. Commenter. There shouldn't be any consequences, but your dad and stepmom are off their rockers. They just want a free babysitter, and maybe you can talk to your uncle about him refusing to them. They can't force their children on the unwilling. Put up a united front with your uncle. OP. If he refuses, then dad will refuse to let me see him. It's the only reason he said yes in the first place. He tried saying no. The consequence wasn't worth it. Commenter. Your dad is going to realize his mistake when you're 18, and you start doing things without them and seeing your uncle on your own terms. Your dad should want you to enjoy a restaurant you enjoy, and not force your step-siblings to be brought along. These parents who force these blended families together really annoy me. I think they should attend mandatory classes on blended families before moving in together. Story 3. AITA for not trying to smooth things over between my kids and their dad after the fallout of him taking his 2 younger kids to Disney World and not taking our kids with them. I have 2 kids, 14F and 11M, with my ex-husband. We split when they were 6 and 4. We're both remarried now, and the kids have half and step-siblings on both sides. The problem is that my kid's stepmom is verbally and emotionally abusive toward them. Initially, she tried turning them against me and constantly told them lies. For about 5 years, we split custody 50-50ths, and I tried to keep open communication with their dad on their treatment over there, but he never believed any of it. He'd only believe his wife, who lied constantly. It finally came to a head 2 summers ago when my oldest started recording her stepmom during one of her fights she picked with the 11-year-old while their dad was at work. She sent me the video, and when her dad dropped them off, I asked for his side of what happened, and he basically laid all the blame on the 11-year-old. I showed him the recording of his wife verbally abusing our 11-year-old, and he agreed she had crossed a line, and we both agreed I'd get the kids full time until he and his wife could work things out, and until she made amends with our 2 kids. We also agreed he wouldn't leave them alone with her. Well, their stepmom has made 0 effort to make amends and has started intentionally ignoring them, literally leaving the room if they walk in, and not saying a word to them all weekend. She also for a while refused to even cook them meals, only cooking for the younger 2, and leaving them out of everything they do. They go over there every other weekend, so they're still over there often. The 11-year-old went over there this weekend. 14-year-old asked her dad if she could stay with me this weekend because it was homecoming, and she wanted me to do her hair, and he agreed she could. And when he came back last night, told us that his dad, stepmom, stepsister, 8, and half-brother, 4, were going to Disney World on Tuesday. My daughter has been crying nonstop since, not over the fact that they aren't going to Disney World, but because their dad is basically acting like the older 2 don't exist now that they're over here full-time. Her love language is quality time, so it's hit her really hard that he's making all this effort to spend quality time with the younger kids, but not her and her brother. She's now refusing to go back over to his house and wants nothing to do with him anymore. Normally, I try to keep the peace and smooth things over, but as a parent, I would never intentionally leave out any of my kids on a major family trip, so I'm kind of infuriated at his behavior. AITA for agreeing with my daughter and confronting her dad about his shitty treatment of the older 2 kids and not trying to smooth things over. Relevant comments. Commenter. NTA. That's child abuse. I wouldn't let them go back over there. Hateful wench. OP. I'm 100% sure she's the driving factor behind this trip to shove it in the kids' faces. But of course I don't have proof. I'm just so disgusted that their dad agreed to it too. Who intentionally leaves 2 kids out of a family vacation? It's just so heartbreaking. Commenter. They are better off without them. The emotional scars these poor babies must have from what she has done and your ex lets her get away with. I would call my attorney and see about full custody. OP. I've been working on getting the parenting plan changed. The problem is, I don't have concrete evidence. It's just what the kids are saying. We also can't use the recording because we live in a state where you can't use recordings unless the person knows you're recording them, and my daughter did it secretly. At age 13, though, the courts will listen to the kids, so 1 kid has hit that, and my 11-year-old will be 12 in December, so he's only 1 year away from that. Commenter. Talk to your lawyer. Maybe there's a loophole in there somewhere. I'll say some prayers for y'all. Story 4. I, 26M, am reconsidering my relationship with my fiancé, 26F, after she canceled plans last minute and don't think she's bringing any net value add to my life anymore. Advice? My fiancé, 26F, and I, 26M, have been together for 4 years, and we're currently preparing to move into our first apartment together. We don't live together yet, though. One issue I've noticed with her is that she cancels plans last minute for reasons that seem valid to her, but not to me. For example, she once canceled plans just a few hours before an event I was really excited about because she had a stressful day at work and just wanted to stay home, eat pizza, and do some self-care. Since I didn't have anyone else to go with, I ended up missing out and felt really disappointed. At times, it feels like she's being selfish. Because of this, I've stopped making plans with her as often. Instead, we just hang out at each other's places. However, this weekend I was really looking forward to going to a ramen restaurant that's known for having long wait times. My fiancé suggested we go, and we finalized our plans. I even skipped heavy meals throughout the day so I could fully enjoy the ramen. She knew how much I was looking forward to it. I had also invited a friend, Carla, but she hadn't confirmed yet. Up until an hour before we were supposed to leave, it was assumed that it would just be my fiancé and me. I had also asked another friend, Carla, to join me, but she hadn't confirmed by then, and my fiancé knew that. It was assumed until like an hour before we were supposed to leave that only my fiancé and I would be going. However, my fiancé, like the flake she is, canceled on me an hour before we were supposed to leave because she had a nosebleed. I mean, a nosebleed, seriously? That's your reason for canceling a plan? Again, I get nosebleeds too. It's not a big deal. Everyone has had nosebleeds as a kid too. She said sorry she couldn't go and we can go tomorrow. I was heartbroken and felt so dismissed, like she lacked consideration and respect for me and my time. I had my say too. Just because you don't feel like going out doesn't mean I shouldn't too. I hate that her refusal felt like a decision was made for me. I was festering in my own misery when Carla texted me and said that she can join us both. I was happy about this because I really didn't know who I could go with at this time when she canceled and assumed Carla wouldn't be able to make it as well. So, I told Carla that my fiancé couldn't make it, but I'd love to go with her instead. I figured my life shouldn't stop just because my fiancé cancels. I deserve to have fun too. I ended up going with Carla, and maybe out of a bit of pettiness, I posted an Instagram story with the caption, "Best ramen partner ever." This really upset my fiancé because it probably looked like I was on a date with another woman. Carla is very attractive, and my fiancé has some insecurities, so it didn't help. To be clear, she wasn't just upset about the story. She was upset about the fact that I didn't plan my life around her and went out with another girl alone. I told her that she already knew that Carla could join me and her based off of our original plan. How is it my fault that I went with someone who was actually available to take some time out to hang out with me than my own partner who makes shitty excuses? Like, it's clearly not happening for the first time. It's a pattern. I told her off and said that she has no right to be upset, and if she really wants me to not go out with someone else other than her, she needs to step up and show up as a partner and not assume she's the center of my universe. She started apologizing deeply and crying on the phone. However, I told her that I need some time to reconsider our relationship to see if it serves me, because I genuinely feel that I don't need so much disappointment in my life that she's bringing. I flatly told her that right now it doesn't feel like she's bringing any net value add to my life. Edit. Again, she has a pattern of canceling plans last minute. 7/10 times I am disappointed in her. It's not a one-off occurrence, else I wouldn't be making this post. Relevant comments. Commenter. This seems like an instance where two people who have grown apart are still in a committed relationship. I know that I was a different person at 26 than I was at 21. Break up and move on. You don't like her anymore. You're petty and angry. It's not fair to her or to you. Next time you consider marriage, don't just do it because you've been together for X number of years or you think it's the next step. Commenter. Genuinely doesn't feel like either of you is ready for marriage. Also, never marry someone you haven't lived with. No, sir, commenter. The way OP writes about his partner is just very cold and dismissive. Like the flake that she is, who says that about someone they supposedly love. NTA in this specific instance. But I came out of this post disliking OP more than his GF. Thank you for sticking around until the end. If you liked our videos, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with our latest content. Have a wonderful day.